Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. Very interesting week, from Raw to Power to AEW Dynamite. Some really good stuff going on. We start off with a special St. Patrick's Day episode of Raw, as it takes place from Brussels, Belgium. Although, the only real St. Patrick's Day celebration they really did was Michael Cole mentioning it on commentary, which was, I figured we'd see a street fight or something, but nah, nothing. So, we start off Raw with a recap of Cody Rhodes' promo last week at MSG, calling out John Cena. And then we get it. Our first heel John Cena promo in about 20 years. And while I was expecting some new presentation, maybe some new gear, he came out exactly as is. And honestly, he kind of explains it. I'll get into it in a minute. And then once he gets in the ring, we have a dueling "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" crowd chant. Brings the microphone up to his mouth, looks around, puts it down, starts to go to leave. Crowd starts booing the heck out of him. So he comes back in, picks the microphone back up, get more boos from the crowd. He goes to do it again, but then he picks the microphone back up, pretty much says, you people should look outside yourselves. You're making this way too easy. For the past 25 years, I've been the victim of an abusive relationship. That got a pretty big boo. Cena continues, all you can do is be hurtful? Well, no more. For I am not a baby face. I am not a heel. I am a human being, and you all have been nothing but awful to me. And how do you know that I was hated? I've had my moments of shame. When I first started, I got booed. So I changed myself into the Doctor of Thuganomics. And that won you over for a little bit until it didn't. Then I changed myself again. And then I won. And I won. And I won. And I won. And that didn't work for you either. I won a lot, and you all hated it. And I spent the last 10 years giving all I could, and it wasn't enough for you. And in my final moments, I could have just walked away, announced my retirement at the end of the year. I tried one last time to be nice to you. And what do? You ruin it. Crowd starts booing again. Cena's like, clearly proving my point. No matter what I do, it's never enough. You take and only care about yourself. Well, now I put my values on the line. And what do you get? You know what you get? And no one asked me how I feel. So you get nothing. No new clothes. No new ring gear. No new music. Your time is up. My time is now. And you get a long, hard look at how awful you've been. And then we get a small Cody, Cody, Cody chant. And Cena acknowledged it, saying, oh, you're chanting for Cody? You got this brand new toy because I'm leaving. See you. Now, I do see the people who have been awful, but the Let's Go Cena people have been just as bad. And while I do hear, I support you, Cena. I hear that. What have you ever done for me? You've done nothing but steal from me. You'd made me the toy. A butt of an invisibility joke that's really not that funny. It's pathetic. You are all pathetic. You're not ready to hear this? You wear these words, hustle, loyalty, and respect. I live by them. I'm the definition of those words. You use me as an excuse for a pathetic excuse at a life. Well, no more. This is a toxic, disgruntled relationship, and I'm breaking up with every single one of you. And then Cena does something funny by pointing out a little kid who's maybe 11 years old, maybe, wearing full Cena gear, saying, especially you. Camera cuts to him. The kid has the most confused look on his face, and it's great. Anyway, Cena continues, like me or no, I'm done. No noise you can make, but you know I'm right. And before he leaves, out comes the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes, gets in the ring, grabs another microphone, says, everyone was willing to hear you out, giving you their worst, but also giving you their best. They did that because you were special, because they knew you could take it. John Cena picks up the microphone and says, listen, Cody then with the most stern, maybe disappointed father voice I think I've ever heard, saying, enough! It's not this kid. I'm not a kid. I'm a champion. Who the hell are you? Where's the guy that actually represents the shirt you're wearing? I was excited to go on-one with Cena at WrestleMania. But now I got this. This better not show up at WrestleMania because I'll run it over and retire it early. Go find the real John Cena, not this whiny little bitch. So Cody leaves the ring, leaving Cena there with the microphone. And Cena just drops it and he leaves. Oh boy. Now, I do have my issues with this promo. It was kind of a long setup you people promo, which we've heard a dozen times from every wrestling promotion in the world. However, Cena did it with so much conviction and I can't believe I'm saying this. I appreciated that promo because it felt real. It felt really like how I expect a heel Cena to feel, which is awesome. A little bit of realness makes wrestling so good. My two issues I have. One, no mention of the association with The Rock. Now, we do have, 3 weeks until WrestleMania? More than likely they're going to bring it up. So I am not too harrowed by it. But number two, John Cena just whipped Cody Rhodes' butt at the end of Elimination Chamber. This is their first meeting. Why didn't Cody take John Cena's head off? Or at least try to swing at him? Or Cena, while Cody was leaving, tried not to jump him? Like, I don't know. I feel like we're missing a few steps. But there's still time to do them. So I'm not super perturbed by it. Then we get a look at some interesting Intercontinental title matches, including the one at WrestleMania between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage, which I actually just watched that one from WrestleMania 3 the other day. That was one of the better earlier WrestleMania matches. I cannot recommend that enough. But now we get into our first matchup of the night, and it's a no-holds-barred match. Basically, weapons are allowed, between Ludwig Kaiser and Penta. And we do get a little bit of a basic matchup between these two. Nothing we haven't seen before. Although we did get a big dive off the apron from Penta. That was crazy looking. Penta then sets up the announce table, gets him up. Gets Kaiser up on the announce table. Kaiser, with an eye rake, hits a Death Valley driver on the table, which lays them both out. And then Kaiser constantly going for Penta's mask. I don't know if I've officially seen Penta unmasked. The only time I came close was when, at the original All In, before AEW was even a thing, Chris Jericho was under the mask. Which, that was an interesting reveal. So, yeah, lots of really good back and forth. Kaiser then grabs a chair, some nasty looking chair shots. He then uses the bottom of the chair, the last two rungs, to choke Penta with it in the corner. But then Penta fights out. Kaiser looks like he hits a Death Valley driver, but as soon as he goes for something else, Penta with a finger snap. He picks up the chair, couple of chair shots, super kick, a destroyer on the chair, which that was gnarly looking, and a Penta driver to pick up the win. I hope we are done with this rivalry. I am sick of seeing them together. Although they put on some really, really good matches, I need something a little fresh from Penta. And we got our first steps to it, because right on the ramp, we got a Penta interview where he first says, "Thank you, Brussels," which that gets a big pop. Penta continues, "Penta is alive in Europe and every continent in the world. What's next for Penta? The Intercontinental title. Yes. 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 Absolutely. I am down for Penta not only challenging for the Intercontinental title, possibly winning. Now, I don't know if this match goes down at WrestleMania. Intercontinental title is going on the line in the main event. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, yeah. Finally, we get a clear target for Penta. And it's going to be interesting. We then see Io Sky and Dakota Kai in the back, with Dakota getting ready for her match. Then we see Judgment Day in their clubhouse for the evening. And you notice something with the Brussels, backstage area. It's all covered in graffiti, and it looks super cool. Like, normally, here in America, you get, arena logo, team logo, whatever. This Brussels backstage looks so cool. I try to find details in all of them. Anyway. So, Finn Balor walks in with Liv Morgan saying, "Oh, we were just talking about you. You're on the right track." Finn then says, "We're ready to hold all the gold once again. And here's my ride or die." That's Dom walking in. Dom then says, I'm doing whatever it takes to get Judgment Day back on top. But I've got an idea. While the Judgment Days do feel lost, I found the perfect person, new member for Judgment Day, Penta. And Dom immediately says that, Finn's face just goes. And then he says, No, you go behind my back and you offer Penta a spot? The man who's just said he's challenging for the my Intercontinental title? He then you're a snake. So then Finn walks off. Then it's just Carlito and Dom in the backstage area, with Carlito saying to him, "Man, don't you watch the show?" Like, I love Carlito, but he needs to do something else. Anyway, we then go into our next matchup, as we got Dakota Kai taking on Ivy Nile. Definitely seen this match a couple times. But then as the match is getting started, we see Chad Gable, who's wearing like a sweatsuit. He's wearing a big like overcoat level jacket. His hair's a little disheveled. And he joins the Creed brothers standing ringside. And this was a pretty entertaining matchup. Really good back and forth between these two women. At one point, Dakota was about to go for an outside dive, but Gable got up on the apron, got into Dakota's face. Then Ivy came in, hit a big old Uranagi, only for a 2 count. Who makes the save? Out come Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio of the LWO. They take out American Made, and they chase Chad Gable out of the arena. This distracts Ivy Nile long enough for Kai to hit a big boot and a go-to kick for the win. So yeah, this match was fun. A little bit overbooked, but again, I would like to see a little bit more variety in the women's division. And as much as I enjoy watching these two wrestle, it's time for something new. We then get our next segment. It's the WrestleMania Women's World Title Match contract signing. Bring out Women's World Champion Io Sky and her opponent Bianca Belair. So now Adam Pearce basically gives them both time to talk, with Io going first, saying, "Bianca, you will not disrespect me again. No one will disrespect me again, because I am champion, and after WrestleMania, I will remain champion." So Adam Pearce pushes her the contract. She signs it. Then we turn it over to Bianca, who says, "I have all the respect for you, Io. Last week, I gave you a pass, but I'm not going to let you put your hands on me again. You're going to find out exactly who I am, and I'm going to be your new women's champion." Now, I did think I saw Bianca sign the contract before what comes next, but I'm also seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, she didn't get to," because out next is Rhea Bloody Ripley, the former women's champion, coming out saying, "What are you guys doing out here? I wasn't just going to sit in the back and wait for my turn. And Bianca, what are you doing standing here like nothing happened between us last week?" Bianca replies, "I'm signing my match for WrestleMania." Rhea then says, "Well, I'm just taking a page out of your book, and I'm going to be here and watch." Bianca then says, I'm going to make you my business if you stick your nose in it. They start arguing a little bit. Io comes up. Bianca pushes Io. Then Rhea with a big headbutt to Bianca, who lands on the contract signing table. She gets Io up, power bombs her through Bianca, although the table doesn't break. So then Rhea, she sees the contract on the ground, she picks it up, and she signs it. So I don't know if that's quite legally binding, but yeah, I kind of hope that isn't how she gets into the match. But yeah, we'll see. Huh. So next up, we get a little Jey Uso promo. He's, again, in an area that's all graffitied up. And he says, Gunther, you've done nothing but play mind tricks on me. I got work tonight. I'm going to shock the world at WrestleMania. This gets Gunther in. He gets right into Jay's face. They start arguing. Officials separate them enough for Jey Uso to make his entrance for this next match against Austin Theory. And this was pretty much the Jey Uso show with a couple of missed spots, including one where he pretty much tumbled over the top rope like Top Dollar, going for a dive, which that was scary. That was legit scary. Jay then hits what looks like a spear, but Michael Cole goes across body to pick up the win. So, and as Jay's celebrating, Waller tries to get involved. He hits a super kick. He dives on both guys. Actually, no, that's where the Top Dollar dive was. Then as Jay's in the ring, his music's playing. Out comes Gunther, who attacks Jay from behind. Goes to lock in a sleeper, but Jay finally counters it. Hits a couple of strikes. Gunther rolls out of the ring. Jay then holds up the title, celebrates with it, and then tosses it down to Gunther. So, I guess this was a match that was affected by the overly long John Cena promo. But, yeah, this was not a good look for Austin Theory. There's way too much filler with this feud. Like, I'm not feeling that hyped for it. Like, forgive me, I love Gunther. Jey Uso is definitely a popular character. I eat right along with him. But there is just something about this feud that just feels flat and just uninteresting. We then get a Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker hype video, which that was very well done. We then see backstage Rhea Ripley and Adam Pearce are arguing. Adam Pearce wants that contract back. Rhea's then yelling, "Put me in the match! Put me in the match!" So, Rhea hands over the contract. Then Bianca and Io jump Rhea Ripley from behind, and they all just fight one another. This definitely has more life than the men's world title feud. I am definitely ready for this. Let's give these three women the time they deserve. Next up, following up from their earlier interaction, we got the Creed brothers taking on Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio of the LWO. And MVP of this match, I'm going to give it to Dragon Lee. This dude has been underrated for far too long. Let's give this man a bigger push. Really nice back and forth. With with Rey Mysterio finishing with a 619 and a frog splash for the win. But post-match, out comes the American-made Luchador, who attacks Rey and Dragon Lee. Rey tries fighting back, but the Luchador hitting a big suplex. Then security comes out and chases the Luchador away. So, yeah, that was... I do wish this match got a little bit more time to develop, but yeah, we're gonna see what this leads to, because I am not sure. We then get a recap of the main event from last week, which was the steel cage match, and this brings out the only man from that match and afterwards who is actually in Brussels. It's Seth Rollins. Gets in the ring, says, "I've come out mad as hell, but it's hard to say mad being serenaded like that." Crowd then starts chanting for CM Punk, with Seth saying, "I'll get to him. I want to talk about Roman Reigns first. I saw the match from last week. I'm glad Roman came for revenge. Absolutely not. After all these years, Roman can't come up with a plan. That's why he has the wise man with him. And he left one thing out. CM Punk, the luckiest loser on the planet. Had Roman given me a few seconds, I would have ended his career. And I would have taken care of the Punk problem. And just like the old days, I'm left to clean up Roman Reigns' mess. I'm going to put him in his place. And my two favorite people are going to be in the same place at the same time on SmackDown." Which got a little boo from the crowd because it's not here and now. Seth reacts to that saying, "I wish they were here too, but I'm not going to let them have all the fun. I'm going to make the trip down to SmackDown in Italy," which that's going to be later on tonight, "and get between Punk and Roman. But right now, it's not about Friday. You've been a hell of a crowd. We have one more match tonight. We'll see you guys Friday." We then get a rundown of what's going to go down next week, which again is another early broadcast because they are in Scotland. And included on the card is maybe not the most interesting matchup, as it's A-Town Down Under versus Jey Uso, but it's also a mystery opponent. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's probably just going to be Jimmy," which that would make sense. I'm thinking it's more of a Scotland native, and when you say his name, he appears, because I believe in Joe Hendry. So that should be a fun one. Then we get the start of a AJ Styles interview where he says, "I stand behind everything I said to Logan Paul." And you hear that? I got the entire roster on. And then in comes Karrion Kross, and with Scarlett kind of wiping down his chest for whatever reason. AJ Styles starts to reply, like, "No, I don't need this tonight. I'm not mad about Logan Paul. This is Kross. I know you're not mad about Paul. You're mad about yourself. It didn't take Paul 17 years to get to the WWE. But for whatever reason, it did for you." AJ Styles replies, "I see what you're doing. It's not going to work." AJ Styles walks off. Kross then turns to Scarlett and says, It's working. So, Cross showing a bit more personality, which I like. We then see Braun Breaker in the back. He's getting ready for his entrance for his match. And he runs into Penta. They have a little stare down. Braun Breaker then walks off. We then get what I'm going to say is the weirdest part of the night, as we have a Triple H Hall of Fame highlight package, which includes his 2003 return from injury at Madison Square Garden, which they were at last week. Why not show this package last week when it makes thematic sense? Not in Brussels. Like, I don't know. That bugs me. And then we finally get to our main event, and it's for the Intercontinental title, as Finn Balor challenges Braun Breaker. And Braun starts off dominating a little bit, but Finn uses more of his finesse and speed, hitting a massive sling blade right on the outside. Braun then takes over, and after a big old power slam, out comes Carlito and Dominic Mysterio, because of course. They surround the ring. Braun is distracted for a little bit. Finn with a surprise roll-up, only to get a 2 count. Braun attempts a military press slam, but Finn gets out of it, hitting a reverse DDT, only for a 2 count. Braun with a big old shoulder tackle. Clotheslines him right off the apron. Clotheslines Dom off the apron, who at this point is distracting the ref. In which that gives Carlito opportunity to take advantage. Carlito rolls him back in. Finn with a sling blade, a corner drop kick, whiffs on the coup de grace. Braun goes for the spear, that misses. Finn with a roll-up, only for a 2. Braun with a military press slam, only for a 2. Braun attempts another spear, that gets blocked by a Finn Balor knee. Finn Balor attempts a coup de grace. Braun gets his knees up. Finn attempts a big old Braun attempts a superplex. That gets blocked. Carlito then distracts the referee, while Dom goes up and kind of shimmies the ropes. But Braun isn't on the ropes right now. So that leads to Finn kind of overreacting a little bit and crouching himself on the top rope. So Braun takes advantage with a Frankensteiner and a spear to pick up the win and retain his title. Post-match, of course, you got the entire Judgment Day out, attacking Braun Breaker. Dom then goes out of the ring, grabs the Intercontinental title, and recreates a moment back in, I want to say like 99, 2000-ish, where Eddie Guerrero had the same look, which that was very, very cool. Penta comes out, makes the save, super kicks pretty much everybody. Braun with a big spear to Finn. Judgment Day roll out of the ring, and Penta and Braun have a stare down, with Braun holding up the Intercontinental title. So, match itself was a whole lot of fun. I hope someday Finn Balor gets a renewed push. He deserves it. Here's my one issue. Obviously, we got the Judgment Day breakup, although at this point, I don't think anyone really cares. Because, let's face it, Judgment Day has run their course. They're not as interesting. However, a Penta Braun Breaker match. I am for. I am ready for that. Let's book it soon. So that was Monday Night Raw. Bit more of a mixed bag than I would have liked, but I still found it to be interesting, especially with the crowd. The Brussels sprout crowd, I applaud you. You were perfect throughout the night. So then that leads us to this next episode of NWA Power. And we start with a group promo, I guess you call it, where certain superstars are outside of a gym opening, which is a very different place to cut a promo. So you got Latimer, and I think it's who is not Paul Bearer? Who am I thinking of? I don't know who I'm thinking of. And then you got Carson Drake and one of the Slime Balls talking to one another, with the little one just kind of not there. And then you got Kenzie Page talking with someone else. I have no idea who that was. And then you also got both of them talking to some Marco Stunt looking dude. Like, I don't know how to explain what's happening here, but they're trying to interconnect certain stories, I guess. I don't know. It was a bit awkward and very hard to follow. But Paul Burchill, that's who it is. So, yeah, it was definitely a bit hard to follow. They then get kind of separate promos a little later. I'll get into those. But our first matchup is a hair versus mask match with special guest referee Joe Acastio representing Long Island. And we have Gags the Gimp taking on Alex Misery. Now, originally this was supposed to be Lev versus Gags, but apparently Lev, they were saying he got lost, but I think that was more of a joke. So I think it might have been affected by either weather or some kind of travel. So Misery stepped up, and this match was a ton of fun. Like, Misery kept going after Gags' mask. They went really back and forth. At one point, you have Gags pushing Alex Misery into a Joe Acosta shoulder tackle. Gags with a Misery with a camel clutch. Don't see that much anymore. But Gags fights out. Alex goes for a moonsault that whiffs. Alex Misery with a cutter, only for 2. Gags fights back with a couple of headbutts. Misses at the 450 splash. But then hits a big shoulder tackle. And then Alex Misery bites the top of his head. Gags with a big old back rake. But then Gags locks in a sleeper hold, which I don't normally see Gags doing the ground game, so that's surprising. But then in that, Alex Misery goes after Gags' mask to let him go. Misery then pushes Gags right into Joe. Attempts a roll-up, but only gets a 2 count. Alex then gets up, confronts the referee, in which that gives Gags enough to hit a hair pull, a couple of stomps, attempts the sliced bread only for it to get blocked. Misery then again attempts to go after the mask, but Gags kind of powers him off of it. Alex then hits a big old enziguri, hangs Gags in the Tree of Woe, goes to the outside, grabs a kendo stick, brings it back in, attempts to hit Gags with it, who's upside down. Joe grabs it, takes it from him. Attempts to take it from him. Alex pulls it back, winds up, hits Joe right in the stomach. He then chokes him with the tip of the kendo stick, which, that's honestly brutal. That's the first time I think I've ever saw that. Alex then stomps Joe out. Gags the Gimp then comes in with the kendo stick. Looks like he's going to back off Alex Misery. Then he takes his own shot at Joe. In which they then trade kendo sticks chops on Joe Acostio. So, this match was pretty much thrown out. It was very, very entertaining. Very well paced. I do wish there was a finish, but I do understand kind of what's going on. So Gags is going to join Alex Misery and Lev in their group. Which, not a bad idea, honestly. So next up, we get to see the full force of the Southern Six. So that's Thrillbilly Silas Mason, Kerry Morton, and Alex Taylor. They're all sitting up in their bar, in which apparently they made themselves, which is crazy. With Kerry starting up, we've been up and down this road together for years now. We're both going after gold. And you see what I did to that big lug wrecking ball? He got hit with a kiss it goodbye. He went to sleep. Then Thrillbilly says, I got something coming up myself. I got a blonde bug coming up. And I beat him twice already. He's a second generation guy living off his family name. Then Kerry chimes in saying, look, Kobe is a hell of a competitor. Thrillbilly went then the maddest look on his face saying, you think he can beat me? Kerry then says, look, I'm not doubting you here, but he's a tough cat. Then I guess the bartender comes in and says, I see some people who could use a shot. Then Thrillbilly says to the barkeep, saying, I see some nerd who could use some glasses. So, bartender gets them all shot glasses. They lift them up, saying to the Southern Six, doesn't matter who wins the big gold belt, as long as it comes back to us. So they clink their glasses together, take the shot. I am digging these, like I said, I am digging these in the venue segments, outside the venue segments. They really work to break up the monotony of it. I wish other promotions would do stuff like this. Anyway, next up, we got a little tag team action as the brand new team of the Moneybirds, which is a very interesting name, take on the weird Franken team of Miss Star and Tiffany Nieves. I have no idea what happened to Reka Tahaka. I will say I do kind of miss her. I guess Miss Star and I'm blanking on her name, I'm sorry, are done as a team, so now these two are teaming up. This was a very, very fun match. The Moneybirds are very, very quick on their feet. You did have some trepidation between Miss Star and Tiffany, including some what looked like were about to be some tag fake outs, but eventually they do get on the same page. Miss Star hits a Starstruck DDT. And as she's going for the pin, Tiffany Nieves on the outside is keeping her feet on the ropes. The ref sees this and only counts the 2 count. So one of the Moneybirds, I'm sorry, I don't remember their full names, hits Miss Star with the roll-up and the win. And post-match, you see Miss Star and Tiffany Nieves arguing. That rivalry should be fun. Let's get Tiffany Nieves out of the tag division, and let's give her more of a push, because she's fantastic. Anyway, now we have Aaron Stevens and Jeremiah Plunkett, who we haven't seen in a while. They're talking in, I guess, Aaron Stevens' gym. Then you see a couple of, I guess, Stevens' students working out. So Stevens tells them to leave. They do. So Stevens then says to Plunkett, look, we got $40 each. Either you got it or you don't. But I have a little bit of business I need handling. Tom Latimer is causing more issues than I'd care to admit. I know you appreciate the game. Here's what I need. So he then goes into Plunkett's ear, just whispers so we don't hear it. Plunkett then says, look, I have the info that'll make our lives easier. Hands it to Stevens, who opens it and just gets a big old shit-eating grin on his face, saying this information is going to ruin the relationship between Latimer and NWA. We need to find a way to pass this on. At that immediate point, Carson Drake and Tommy Rant come in. That's one of the slime balls. With Stevens turning to him saying, oh, good to see you. I see you brought your Funky Kong. So then Carson Drake kind of gives him $2 to go to the vending machine. Stevens then turns to Drake saying, I'm having issues with a champion and I need your help. Drake's like, ooh, what's in it for me? Stevens then says, don't you trust me? Drake then kind of gets a little side grin on his face saying, no. Stevens then says, do you know who I am? I haven't forgotten about this. You have a title, and I just want to help you. And you're standing here slinging shade. Carson Drake then says, I don't need your money. I don't need your information. And he walks off. So we're going to see where this leads, but it is very, very strange. It looks like Aaron Stevens is building his own team of champions. I guess he's expanding Blunt Force Drama, which is very, very interesting. We get a nice fun around the territory segment, announcing future shows for not just NWA themselves, but their feeder territories. Then we get our next first round matchup in the Jack Stain Memorial Heavyweight Tournament match, as we have Max the Impaler taking on Frank. Who the heck is Frank? It's the former Judas, Max the Impaler's tag team partner. Now, from what I heard from the announce team, Austin Idol bought Judas's contract from James Mitchell, who is not out here. So, Austin Idol changed his name teamed him up with his nephew. I think that's who it was that came out with him. And so, yeah, Frank is just shaved his head, trimmed up his beard, wearing jeans and work boots. Not even like wrestling boots. So, definitely an interesting look. Frank, right off the bat, just overpowering Max the Impaler. After a few big jabs, the ref backs Frank off. But then Frank goes right back in and chokes Max. Max fights back after a little bit, but then Frank with an eye rake. Another choke. Ref backs Frank off again. Max the Impaler with then a big kick. Couple of shoulders in the corner. Eventually Frank with a big old eye rake again. Then Max pulling on his beard. Hitting a bunch of big old elbows. Hits a spear. And then a senton. Max attempts a big splash, but that gets caught into a big old fall-away slam. Max rolls to the outside, in which they all brawl, including biting and splashing each other. They get back in. Frank with a choke slam to Max. Goes for another one, but Max fights out of it. And then Frank with a Baldo Bomb to pick up the win. Definitely a big old hoss fight that I appreciate. Frank is definitely a very Vince McMahon level renaming. Like, I don't know. I don't really love the one name thing. It's weird. Let's get this guy a last name. And to finish it off, we get a Tom Latimer promo. It looks like he's filming an ad for the NWA or something. With him promoting himself as following in the footsteps of greats like Ric Flair and Steamboat, etc., etc. In walks Paul Burchill. Excuse me. He's looking at his phone. Latimer finally notices him, saying, "You okay?" Burchill says, "Yeah." "But did you not hear?" Latimer says, "Hear what?" Burchill then says, "Just know I got your back. This is nothing serious. It's just wrestling stuff. But I got to show you something." So he hands off the phone to Tom Latimer, which I guess shows the video of Aaron Stevens trying to get Carson Drake and Jeremiah Plunkett on his side. Tom Latimer says, "Ugh, this is freaking me out now." He then looks up from his phone, "Aaron Stevens!" and just walks off to end the show. Definitely a very entertaining episode of Power. I definitely see what the vision is coming up for certain shows. We're going to see where this all goes. It should be an interesting one. And then we finally get AEW Dynamite, in which had to be edited a little bit because there was a massive snowstorm where they were doing the show in Omaha, Nebraska. But it does seem like everyone got there safely, including Jon Moxley driving 11 hours to the venue. That's insane. Anyway, so we start off the show with an international title #1 contenders match, and it's a fatal 4-way. We got Orange Cassidy taking on Mark Davis, taking on Speedball Mike Bailey, taking on Ricochet. And this was pretty much the Speedy guys versus Mark Davis, who had a really good showing out here, with Ricochet being kind of the snivy little heel, either getting tossed out or just going outside on his own accord, including joining the commentary table. There was a fun moment where Orange Cassidy did these slow-mo versions of Mike Bailey's kicks to him, and then Bailey just gives him the full version, that was a great little interaction. All three went back and forth. Bailey hits a shooting star press on Cassidy. Ricochet then grabs him, dumps Bailey to the outside, hits a shooting star of his own. Cassidy then grabs him, takes him out, covers Mark Davis, only gets a 1 count. Davis then fights all three of them at once. Each of them hits a big boot right to his chest. Ricochet attempts the vertigo, that gets blocked into a big Rana. Cassidy attempts the DDT, that gets blocked. Mark Davis attempts a big suplex, but Cassidy with a stun dog millionaire. Cassidy attempts a super kick, but misses, and hits a big dive to the outside. Mark Davis with a big old powerbomb attempt, but that gets blocked into a roll-up for 2. Davis with a blue thunder bomb. Then Mike Bailey with a standing shooting star, only for a 2 count. Ricochet with a shooting star of his own, only for a 2 count. Attempts vertigo, that gets blocked. Davis with a clothesline and a Death Valley driver for a 2. Orange Cassidy with a big DDT. Misses a big kick, but then hits Beach Break. Mark Davis comes in, attempts a pile driver, that gets blocked. Into an Aaron Zaguri and an Orange Punch, only for a 2. Davis attempts a pile driver again, that gets blocked. Into a massive Uranagi, and then a big old powerbomb by Mike Bailey. Cassidy attempts a big old DDT, but that gets blocked into a spinebuster. Davis eventually hits the pile driver, but that gets blocked into a roll-up for a 2 count. Mike Bailey with a big moonsault, but blocks the tornado kick. Davis misses the big splash in the corner. Bailey with a kick gets him into a roll-up, but as that's going on, Ricochet, who's climbing through the ropes, also covers Mark Davis as the ref counts 1, 2, 3. And then you see both men celebrating. So the announcer goes up to the ref saying, yeah, they both won. So your winners, moving on to Dynasty, it's Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. A bit awkward finish to the match, but this match absolutely ruled. This was a great, finesse and speed versus just raw power match, with the smaller guys having to, at times, team up, but eventually they got the big man down. We then get a kind of a weird Dynasty hype video. Like, it definitely looked unfinished. We then get a Hurt Syndicate hype video / workout video. I was hoping they'd be in the arena. Like, I was hoping they'd be ready to go, and then maybe, I don't know, someone would tell them, oh, we don't have anything for you. So maybe they go look to hurt someone. Something like that. So next up, we get our TBS title match. We have Mercedes Moné, and as Billie Starkz is coming out, she gets a nice little hype video that showcases her history in Ring of Honor, in which that was nice. I like that. AEW is definitely getting better with these hype videos. Although someone very conspicuous by their absence in this hype video, in which we'll see that a little later. This match was, again, a whole lot of fun. A lot of really good stakes. Couple points. Billy attempts an electric chair driver, but Monet blocks it every time, including countering with a backstabber, only for a 2. Monet attempts a pile driver that gets blocked into a gut buster for a 2. Monet attempts a gory special, but that gets blocked by Starks, who hits a superplex, attempts a suplex, gets blocked into a brainbuster to the knee by Monet. Then Monet with a facebuster. It's a big suplex, only for a 2. Monet attempts another gory special, but that gets blocked into a big knee and a kick combination. Monet attempts a roll-up that gets blocked, only gets a 2 count. Starts with a big old dropkick, an Alabama slam, and then what looks like it looked like a muscle buster, but instead of like falling back, Starks went forward with it. So it looked like Monet really hit her head hard. That oddly only gets a 2 count. Billy Starks attempts a senton on the apron. That misses. Monet with a roll-up for a 2. Drags her right into the statement maker for the submission win. Monet initially holds on to the hold, but eventually the ref gets her to let go. Then we get this nice little video. I love that AEW are allowing the Outrunners to do this. They're showing them, hyping up the Omaha home team, basketball team on their way to the NCAA tournament. Spoiler alert, they lost to St. John's. Go Johnnies. Which, honestly, it's cool that the Outrunners are doing this. And it even got them on SportsCenter, which is awesome. Despite what you may think about SportsCenter these days. Then we get a video recap of MVP's offer to MJF from last week. We then get a solo MJF promo, not in the ring, but it looks like it's in some corner of the locker room somewhere, where he says, "You know what's funny? You know which horse usually wins the race? Will it be Darby be the next world champion? Will Ospreay? Swerve? And then there's the cowboy. And it pains me, you are the only horse to bet on is me. And I've spent a lot of time looking at this card. And with the title on Jon Moxley, getting I want a shot at gold. But apparently to get there, John, you got an army. And I think I need a clique of my own. So MVP, I'll have your answer next week. It's time for Daddy to stop crying over spilt milk and start celebrating with some champagne. So that was interesting little promo, and kind of the only promo of the night, which, I'm more than happy AEW is getting back into their swing of things. Because last week was promo heavy. Like, really promo heavy. And here's what I think is going to happen. I don't think MJF is going to join the Hurt Syndicate, but there are 2 current free agents that have a previous association with MJF in another promotion. That's Alex Hammerstone and it's not Robert Stone, Richard Holiday. They teamed together in MLW as the Dynasty. And with the Dynasty pay-per-view coming up, I think getting that team back together would be appropriate. Either way, should be an interesting confrontation. We then go to our AEW World Title match, but it's not just one-on-one, it's a street fight between Jon Moxley and Adam Edge Copeland. And now Moxley, he's making his entrance. He's coming in from the loading dock of the arena. Then Cope immediately attacks Moxley from behind, tosses him into a truck. Then we hear ding, 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 ding. So the match is starting off in the back. Cope is beating the heck out of Moxley for a while, including getting a guitar, which looked like Jeff Jarrett's guitar. Hit him in the stomach with it. I'm surprised no El Kabong. Mox then tosses Cope into a loading dock door. Mox then runs into the building with Cope chasing him. Moxley with the case shots, the case holding the AEW World Title. Cope fights back, tosses him into an equipment case. They then brawl into the arena, with Mox throwing Cope into the announce table. Cope then fights Mox, then hits Cope with the microphone. Then Cope from under the ring gets a trash can, hits a couple of shots on Moxley. They brawl on the outside for a little while, including Mox locking in a Juji Katami on Copeland. Mox eventually lets go, tosses him over the barricade. Moxley then gets a black kendo stick. I don't know what that means. Apparently that's a harder bamboo, and just hits Copeland with it. Mox then with a Paragon shift onto the announce table. Gets him back in the ring. Hits a couple of chair shots. Uses the chair to choke Copeland out. He puts on the hardcore necktie onto Copeland. He's about to go for a stomp on the middle rope. Copeland gets up, tosses the chair into Moxley's face. Then Cope with a big old back rake into a superplex. We then see someone interesting watching backstage. It's Prince Nana. They go back to kicking the heck out of each other. Then Cope gets a very, very familiar weapon. He gets Spike. Now, if you don't know who Spike is, it is a big old 2x4 with nails hammered into the top. So, Copeland was about to take a big swing at Moxley. Moxley with a big old cutter starts choking Copeland out. Then Moxley grabs the table, slides in the ring, sets it up in the corner. Then, oh my god. Then it is very interesting position. Copeland then takes Spike, hits Moxley in the gut with it, hits Moxley in the back with it, then lays it down in the middle of the ring, hits a suplex on Moxley into Spike, And then you see Mox. He's writhing in pain. He's screaming. He sits up. Spike is now stuck in the back of Jon Moxley. And he's just, poor guy. Then out comes Wheeler Yuta, hits a Busaiku knee on Copeland. Then we see Yuta grab on the Spike, start pulling it. You see Mox start bleeding from his back. Yuta then rolls out the ring. The referee then continues the effort to pull Spike out of Moxley's back, while Yuta eats a powerbomb from Copeland through a table. And this brings out Claudio Castagnoli and Pac as they attack Copeland on ringside. Get him in the ring. Claudio with some hip attacks. Pac with an uppercut. They have Copeland set up for a concerto, but FTR makes the save. Fights the other Death Riders off. Then Copeland with a big old spear through the table in the corner. And as he's going for the cover, out comes the last member of the Death Riders, Marina Shafir, to break up the pin. And as Shafir is just beaten down on Copeland, out comes Willow Nightingale to make the save. Who hits a clothesline over the top, and then a big old cannonball off the apron. Then, kind of the weirdest part of the night of this match, out comes Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne of the Patriarchy. They get in the ring. Sabian eats a spear from Copeland, but then Nick Wayne hits Wayne's World. Mox goes for the cover, only gets a 2. Mox then locks in the Bulldog Choke, and Copeland then fades. So your winner, and still AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley. And after that, we see the Death Riders grab the case with the title, and Moxley himself pull him to safety over the rail. Then you see backstage Prince Nana, because of his phone, put it to his ear, guess letting Swerve know his opponent for Dynasty. Then we see Cope. He's just down on his back. He's in pain. Then he sees Dax Harwood standing over him. He extends his hand, wanting some help to get up. Instead, Dax ultimately reacts, climbs out of the ring. Then Cash Wheeler follows him. They start kind of pushing each other away a little bit. And then Dax walks off on his own. Cash and Willow then help Cope out of the ring and back into the back. So, yeah, that was way better than the Revolution match. I understand there was a couple of plunder matches on that show. I think if this would have main evented Revolution, it would have been better reviewed. But instead, we kind of got a little bit of a dud. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of WrestleMania 40 when all those people were helping Cody Rhodes. But this is what happened when we get a failure. We then get a look back at the Revolution 0 Hour with Chris Jericho just beating the heck out of Gravity, including taking his mask. We then get a little look at the Chris Jericho promo he cut last week on Gravity. We then go backstage to an interview with Bandito, who is Gravity's brother, which, that's awesome. So, Bandito says, Lucha Libre runs in my veins. My brother, Jericho, you made my brother and mother cry. Sunday at Collision, I hope you show up, because I'm going to beat you. Then in walks Johnny TV, aka John Morrison, who says, "You in the ring crying like a baby. Who cares? That's not ratings. How about instead, it's going to be you versus me on Collision. That's going to be must-see TV." Bandito then turns to Johnny TV, just says, "Hermano, I accept." That's going to be a super underrated match. I cannot wait for that one. Speaking of super underrated match, this was the only match that really didn't have a story going into it or going about it. So we got Will Ospreay taking on AR Fox. Now, these two do have history outside of AEW, but this is their first AEW match, which is, I mean, it makes sense. And honestly, this started off like fast and furious. Counters for moves. Eventually, they both hit a cutter on one another, one after another. Looked like Fox was taking advantage. Whiffs on a big old clothesline, but hits a crazy Spanish fly off the top, only getting a 2. Ospreay with the around the corner super kick, attempts the hidden blade, misses. AR Fox with a big cutter. Ospreay with a whiffs on the super kick. AR Fox with a big knee. Fox then with a big old Spanish fly off the top rope. He whiffs on the 450, which sets Ospreay up nicely for the hidden blade and the 1, 2, 3. Then we see post-match Will Ospreay checking on AR Fox. While this match, in the grand scheme of things, really didn't matter, I appreciated both these guys coming out and just going 100 miles an hour. That was kind of on the level of the best Lucha Libre matches I've ever seen. This was great. I love both these guys. We then get a Swerve Strickland versus Jon Moxley hype video. That's going to be interesting. We'll see if Mox is going to be full of holes for that matchup, because, he got spiked. We then get an attempt at a Hangman Adam Page interview. He's backstage. He's saying, "I promised as long as I shall live, I've never going to let Swerve hold the AEW title again. I'm clearly not bluffing. But for now, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to join in on the Owen Hart Cup. And I'm going to become your next world champion." Heck yeah, that was a nice, short but sweet interview. Where we're stacking the deck for the Owen Hart Cup, which honestly is one of my favorite times of the year. We then get a Julia Hart versus Queen Aminata hype video that's going to come on Collision. We then get a Mercedes Moné interview where she asked the interviewer, "How many title wins is that?" She continues, "That kid put up a heck of a fight, but it takes more than Hart to beat me. Now I want to ask, who trained her? Who mentored her? I am the greatest TBS champion of all time, and there's no stopping the Moné train." They're hyping up Athena. It's about dang time. Athena is one of the most underrated, underappreciated superstars in either promotion. Let's freaking go. We then see Timeless Toni Storm join commentary. One point on the way to the desk, she trips a little bit, but she recovers nicely. as she's commentary on our main event, as it's Megan Bayne taking on Chris Statlander. And this was a hoss fight. Like, this was two meaty women slapping meat, and I am seriously all for this. This was power against power, and Megan Bayne had advantage for a while. Statlander using a bit more of her smarts, including hitting a big old moonsault to the outside. Attempts a cross body, but gets caught, with Megan Bayne hitting a fall-away slam, in which Statlander countered right into a drop kick, only getting a 1 count. Chris Statlander with a big old boot, and as she's going to follow up, Penelope Ford, who was ringside for Megan Bayne, distracts Chris Statlander, who then eats an elbow from Megan Bayne. Bayne attempts a superplex, but that gets blocked. Statlander then slides down, hits a power bomb, which that was impressive. Megan Bayne attempts a face to set, which is her version of the F5. That gets blocked by Statlander, who hits a big old axe kick. Follows up in enziguri. Statlander was about to follow up with another move, but Ford grabs Chris Statlander's leg. Apparently the ref finally saw this. Points at Penelope Ford. Oh, get out of here! Gets a big old reaction from the crowd. But then that leads to a attempted clothesline by Bayne that missed. Statlander with a big old super kick. Powerbomb. Michinoku driver, only for a 2. Statlander attempts a big elbow strike. That gets caught. They trade suplexes for a while, in which Bayne finishes up with a clothesline. Statlander then rolls to the outside. And then we see one of the more impressive things a big person can do, and that's a big old swan dive to the outside. Bayne gets her back in, hits a Falcon Arrow, only for a 2. Goes to follow up for a low bridge. Statlander with a big old DDT, which gets Bayne to the outside. Chris Statlander with a cannonball off the apron. She lands, yet kind of gets in the face of Toni Storm. Bayne then recovers, tosses Statlander not only into the ring apron, but into the commentary, right into Toni Storm. Bayne with another face to set. Slides Chris Statlander back in. Hits a face to set to pick up the win. I love how they are presenting Megan Bayne. I do wish they would do something a little bit more with Statlander. But, yeah, that was a really, really good matchup. So then we see Toni Storm. She's on top of the announce desk. She's taping up her hand, ready to go. She rolls in the ring, and she and Megan Bayne start throwing haymakers. Officials come out to break them up. Toni Storm pushes through them, clotheslines Bayne to the outside. And while Bayne's looking up, Toni Storm gets a microphone, starts off, "My God, you're a big bitch," which got the heck out of me. She continues, "It's about time we get Titanic? I'm not even sure what she said. I'm going to make this quite easy for you. We have a date at Dynasty." She definitely says more, but it's a little overly sexual, so I am not going to include it. But yeah, you could probably find it online somewhere. And it's Tony Storm is one of those great characters that I'm glad exist. Like, Tony deserves all of our flowers. I am very surprised we're getting this Megan Bayne match so early, but I'm definitely here for it. So, yeah, that is This Week in Wrestling. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Now, coming up is very, very interesting because Friday, later on tonight, SmackDown is going to be in Italy. This is not going to be like the Raws where it's going to be shown early in the States. Instead, it's regular broadcast time. That should be a fun one. Then we get a double dip of Collision with the NCAA tournament going on. There's a lot going on. So, on both Saturday and Sunday, once the games are over, we're going to have a double dip of Collision both on Saturday and Sunday. I will try my best to cover both. And, yeah, it should be a fun one. So, I'm glad you guys stuck around. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.